I was kind of interested in the last show at Nellie Caston that some quite different things seem to be happening in those works, and I'm thinking especially about the train station and the is it Tokyo, the cityscape, where it was more that the painting itself was almost hidden in the image. It wasn't that it was a surface reflection, and it wasn't so much that you had that thing about relying on the memory or the implied construction of an image behind that painted surface. The image was pretty much intact, but the painted element was just inhabiting spaces within the image.
Yeah.
What's going on there then?
Well, I think very similar issues to do with perception. There's this. These are some studies for that German work, and this is its original source in Hamburg. And there are certain observed colours, and this comes out of an interesting installation that I've done between observing colours in the world and then almost isolating those colours as colour fields or as monochromes in it, either as wall paintings or... And these are part of a series of works that are dealing with the movement of colour. So what people sometimes, what you can find in this is that some of the sources of these blues are heightened slightly, or the yellows are heightened, or the greys are tweaked.
Yep.
Or the transitions of the colours come out of a type of simplification, so that there's a response to the colour in the world, but it just becomes emphasised in a particular way. And the function of those is that they activate the surface quality and movement of colour in a particular way. They also work in relationship to the perspectival space of photography in a slightly different way. And they also have got this opportunity for you as a viewer to discover interventions.
Yeah, and if I remember my time in Hamburg, that area around the train station is not the nicest part of the city.
No, it's certainly not. And then, so it comes back to this idea of movement, of light, of colour. And then there's the light of the colour, of the painted areas. There's the pigment, there's the gesture of making them, still revealing those gestures subtly.
Yeah, that's always there really with the
and I think they also acknowledge in their own way some surfaces, hold dust and rubbish. They're not about perfection in that sense, but they are about subtlety. And sometimes in other studies like that one, the surface there is, again, you could get it smoother if you wanted, but it's really about just trying to get enough of a gesture in order that the harmonics of light and movement are amplified. And in some ways, this is what I mean by the interval. This is a little study for the Tokyo piece, or one of the Tokyo pieces. This white, and I think it works better on a larger scale, but it nevertheless is still has a similar function. This white informs the way we see white form, through the work. It's almost like a key. So those things that in this particular piece, it enables form and whiteness to become apparent. In some of the other works, it enables colours to become apparent, and in some of the even more subtle ones, it enables movement to become apparent. So there's a sense of a flow that operates through, say, the freeway piece in Nellie Kasten's show.
Mm. I wasn't really going to talk about my own practice, but I just am anyway. Which is that
You devil.
there. This is about me now. There's certain things that I've been interested for a long time that haven't been foregrounded in my work for a few years, because I've been focusing on particular elements. And in a way, I think I would quite like to re-engage or bring some of those things back in and think about them. But it's almost like I find it difficult to find a way back to some ideas. Do you experience that? Is that?
I think for a long time when I had a particular, and I guess this is where that modernist sort of hangover happened. There was a certain stylistic sense that, you know, there was a development, and that something was not, you know, you'd left that behind, and therefore, you know, how did you introduce it without affecting all this sort of reductive, intensified sort of style that you had developed or whatever. And that's why I was very suspicious of the word style in work. It's what forms are being used to do. And by the 90s, I was becoming aware of complexity, and I was becoming aware of hybridity, and I was not in a sense that anything meant anything, but that certain things meant certain things, and that they could be qualified or they could be heightened by the addition of external linguistic sources to them, or experiential sources to them.
It's contingent in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I became interested in the notion of the composite. The idea that you could have things that were quite different in kind being together in a work that was going to be reconciled over the time of the viewer's experience. Okay? And that meant I could bring and juxtapose quite independent aspects of practice together, whether it was figuration as a painting in relationship to a colour field or abstraction, whether it was photographic representation of realism or photographic manifestation of light in relationship to painted light or the gestures. And so over time, through this experimentation with installation, with collaboration with other people, with, you know, bringing those ideas back into the object-based works, that language for me has started to open up in a way that I'm now feeling a lot more comfortable, feeling I can use whatever I feel like, as well as whatever I know. And in terms of the working methods, it's not trying to always predict outcomes. It's sort of setting up issues that if the outcomes are going to come out in a way that I haven't imagined, that's fantastic. So even the sort of playfulness of some of the new work with the rolling of tape, like that work over here, that comes out of a very simple idea of a length of time. But it also comes out of a tradition of the monochrome painting, and the tradition of the object of the monochrome as being not just something that's a perpendicular surface, but can be a horizontal surface. And it means you just have to reconsider those as a painting in a slightly different way. But it's essentially a painting. And those are the sorts of devices, I suppose, that I feel I may not have shown say a decade ago in the same way. There are
there's also the kind of the playfulness of the punning of the title, isn't it? You know, the length of tape, the length of time, and that whole thing about the material of producing a painting, which it looks like in this instance had nothing to do with the actual monochrome that it's sitting on.
Exactly.
It happened somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think they're the sorts of little, a few years ago, in fact, I've done some where, there's a conceptual connectedness between those things. But, there's something about that creation of the slippage that opens up another experience in the work that is somehow different. Yeah, so I guess that might be either old age fooling myself or something like that. But it's also the idea that I feel I can do whatever I want in order to clarify the experiences I want to engage with, through my work. And I don't feel there's a stylistic imperative that's going to lock that too tightly. And for me, that notion, as I said before, of the composite was a very strong liberation. And whether or not it's of relevance for you, it's another matter. But it's where it certainly helped my engagement with some ideas that otherwise would have been alluded to, not necessarily clearly manifest.